can't be an advocate in our courts, you can't practice property law, and you can't practice wills and probate. But every other area of law is available to an Indian lawyer who wants to come to London, and we welcome that. And those are the same rules for other foreign laws. And the British High Commission is at your service should you wish to come to London. So it does go both ways. It does go both ways. So as we look the world over, successful economies tend to be those which are pragmatic and progressive and view the key infrastructure of international legal services as important. We believe that if legal systems fail to embrace the required changes, in a sense they risk isolating and marginalising their own laws, and they impede growth as commercial business flows to truly international firms based overseas. There's no denying that this agenda represents significant challenges for professionals, regulators and governments. But then let me conclude on some of the benefits that make it essential that we rise to those challenges. The number of foreign law firms with branch offices in London now stands at over 200 in number. 200 foreign law firms in London, staffed by lawyers from over 35 countries, including India. And we heard earlier from our good friend, Mr. Banerjee, who has a firm in London, and I wish his firm every success. But by making the UK a welcoming venue for lawyers from all over the world, international business has recognised the extraordinary pool of legal talent that we had in the UK. In our model, we consider that the best thing we can do for users of legal services, whether they are foreign, perhaps Indian, investors, multinational companies or private individuals, is to provide them with a wide choice of highly skilled professionals as possible. It is for this reason that we welcome foreign lawyers to practice any law in the UK. Our own lawyers have learned much from working with colleagues from diverse jurisdictions who bring with them new expertise, management styles and disciplines. Our traditions live on and are enriched by exposure to the traditions of others. And it is the consumers who are first to benefit. Domestic clients have access to a far wider range of providers, meaning lower costs and a greater range of breadth and expertise. This approach is made possible because in the UK we accept fair competition both domestically and from overseas. Of course, there were those that feared that foreign lawyers would take away work from the local legal profession. But the evidence has not emerged in that direction, it's emerged in the other direction, because the foreign lawyers that come to them, by and large, do not want to work in our domestic courts. And that would be the same. 95% of the business is not of attraction to our foreign lawyers. But I hope that this evening I have set out that there is much to gain and that those challenges are insurmountable. Are not insurmountable. In finding ways of accommodating the different needs of the modern-day commercial world, one must always recognise the value of the diversity of legal systems and traditions. No country wishes to see its own legal traditions and customs eroded, but the protection of these traditions should not be seen as an opportunity to resist change, particularly when that change is fundamentally good. This visit provides us with an excellent opportunity to explore these important issues together, to share our different experiences and approaches to the internationalisation of legal services. We will no doubt disagree on some things, and I'm confident that we will agree on many more. I hope that this visit marks a new phase in our relationship, where we go on to develop an even better and deeper understanding of our respective communities and cultures, and work in an even closer way. So let me end where I began. I am so very grateful for being here. I'm so very grateful to represent this country. I'm acutely aware of the proud and really tremendous tradition that is the Indian common law. I hope we continue to strengthen those ties, and I wish India every success over the coming months and years. Thank you very much.
He's running with me, so I'm saying Jai Hind. May I now request Mr. K. Venkatapati, our Minister of State for Law and Justice, Government of India, to please come and say a few words.
Honorable Mr. Lamy, Minister for Constitutional Affairs of the United Kingdom, Honorable Mr. Justice Virendra Jain, Judge Delhi High Court, Mr. Adish Aggarwala, Chairman All India Bar Association and Convener of Indian Council of Jurists, Mr. B. Datta, First Additional Solicitor General of India, Professor A. K. Aggarwal, Vice Chancellor Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, Honorable Mr. Justice A. N. Videsa, Mr. Rameshwar Nekra, ex-MP Chairman Bar Council of Madhya Pradesh, Mr. Amarjeet Singh Chandiok, Vice President of All India Bar Association and President of Delhi High Court Bar Association, Dr. Mohinder Singh Malik, Director General of Haryana, Mr. Jatan Singh, Secretary Bar Association, Delhi, Mr. Parikh, President of Supreme Court Bar Association, Mr. John F. Fernandez, ex-MP, President, Goa State Bar Association, Mr. Gautam Banerjee, Mr. Radhela Gupta, Honorary Secretary, All India Bar Association, who is going to propose vote of thanks. Gentlemen of erudition, ladies of caliber, I thank you one and all for having given me this opportunity to be with you and say a few words with regard to strengthening of Indo-British legal ties. I pay special tributes to our Honorable Minister for Constitutional Affairs, Mr. David Lamy, and the members of the team for having paid a visit to India to discuss areas of mutual interest, for exchange of information on legal matters, to learn the possibility of liberalization of the legal services industry in India. Mr. David Lamy was kind enough to come to my office in the morning and have a discussion with me. He put forth his own point of view, and as a matter of reciprocity, we also put forth our point of view. We had goodwill and understanding, and we are thankful to our Minister for having come from United Kingdom and for having been kind enough to add his opinions with regard to this exchange of information on legal matters. The massive structure of Indian law and jurisprudence resembles the height, the symmetry and the grandeur of the common and state law of England. The system of laws and the administration of justice called the Anglo-Indian or the Indo-British system, into which the basic principles have in the course of over 2 centuries grown and developed. We have to trace the development of Indian jurisprudence through a period of over 2 centuries, pointing out its close similarity to what may be termed the mother jurisprudence of England in as simple a manner as possible. English brought into India not only the mass of legal rules strictly known as the common law, but also their traditions, outlook and techniques in establishing, maintaining and developing the judicial system. The history of present-day Indo-British jurisprudence commences with the formation of the London East India Company in 1600 in the reign of Queen Elizabeth. The charters of Queen Elizabeth and James I granted to the company in the years 1600 and 1609 gave the power to them to make, ordain and constitute such and so many reasonable laws, constitutions, orders, ordinances as to them shall seem necessary. So always that the said laws, orders, constitutions, ordinances, imprisonments, fines and amerciaments be reasonable and not contrary or repugnant to the laws, statutes, customs of their own realm. In the year 1726, the Crown granted letters patent creating mayors' courts in the presidency towns. They were not to be companies' courts, but courts of the King of England, though at that time the King had no claim to sovereignty to any part of the country except the island of Bombay. The mayor and certain aldermen were authorized to try, hear and determine all civil suits, actions and pleas between party to party and give judgment and sentence according to justice and rights. Appeals from the mayor's courts led the governor and council were made a court of record. In 1863, more than a century later, Her Majesty's Privy Council had occasion to consider when the English criminal law came to be introduced in India and also the extent of its application. In 1773, the Regulating Act abolished the mayor's courts and created Supreme Courts for the presidency towns. The government was empowered by the Act from time to time to make and issue such rules, ordinances, regulations for the good order and civil government of the State United Company's settlement at Fort William and other places and factories subordinate or to be subordinate thereto, as shall be deemed just and reasonable, and to set, impose, inflict and levy reasonable fines and forfeiture for the breach and non-observance of such rules, ordinances and regulations. They have constituted Sadar Diwani Adalat, a final court of appeal in civil matters, and Sadar Nizamat Adalat, the final court of appeal, criminal appeals. They are entitled to revive and confirm sentences awarded by the criminal courts. Subordinate courts are called District Diwani and Faujari Adalat. So they were following the principles of justice, equity and good conscience. And first law commission was constituted and it was presided over by Macaulay. He prepared a draft of the Indian Penal Code of 1860, perhaps the most outstanding of the Indian codes. All the lawyers would know that the vocabulary, that the language that has been employed in the Indian Penal Code is highly commendable, praiseworthy and unprecedented. And the Criminal Procedure Code came into existence in 1861.